Hi folks, DC here from DC's Gadgets. Today is March the 19th of 2020. I'm continuing on in a series of what to do when. There's various things that sooner or later will happen in the life of any beekeeper when you're keeping bees, whether it happens in your first year or your 10th year. Stuff that sooner or later is going to happen. And as I'm looking at things, current events, and we're in the springtime and things are changing in our beehives, there's a topic that comes up now on a regular basis this time of year, and it is queen cells. So let's address queen cells and what they mean and what we can do. So first thing I want to talk about is there's a significant difference between a queen cup and a queen cell. And a queen cup is exactly that. It's just a cup. It is a pocket of wax that the bees have made on the face of the comb or the edge of the comb or the bottom of the comb. It's a vertically oriented cell, but it's empty. There's nothing in it. It's just a queen cup. Now, some people call them practice cells. Some call them emergency cups, various different names. It's just a cup. And it really doesn't mean a whole lot. A healthy colony will have queen cups in it. All it means is that some worker bees, somewhere along the line, decided just in case something went wrong, they wanted to make a cup in case they want to make a queen. Now, some of the things I'm going to talk about are based in absolute fact that we can prove. Some are based on personal experience, and some are based on opinion, and I will try to distinguish which is which as we go through this thing. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Beekeeping is an exact science of guesswork, okay? So keep that in mind. There are multiple ways to do things, and it all depends upon personal experience. So the aspect of a queen cup, the idea is that the bees will make a queen cup to replace the queen or to go swarm for some reason, and then the queen's going to go and lay eggs in that cup. And so that's always been the idea. That's what you read in the books. That's what people teach. There are a group of people, and this is opinion here, there are a group of people who believe that bees will move larvae, and I'm one of those. I believe bees move larvae, and I believe I've found evidence of it in several places. We found actual queen cells in a honey super above an excluder in a colony where the bees had been in this, the super had been on for more than 2 weeks. So we didn't leave a virgin or a mated queen behind in the super. You know, she was definitely in the bottom, laying eggs in the bottom. Found queens in the super. One person told me they're probably just drone cells that made it look like queens. I cut them off, stuck them in my incubator, and I hatched out queens. So queens there. I've also seen instances when I build a cell builder, excuse me, when I build a cell builder to raise queens, I don't put any brood in my cell builder. Had an instance where I had been running the same cell builder for several weeks and put in a frame of grafts, and they're making queens in their grafts, and just went through the whole box just to see what things are going on and make sure I had plenty of food stores. And I found queen cells on a frame that had been in that box for the duration. There was no way a queen laid eggs in those cells. The only way that happened was they took larvae out of the cups I grafted and stuck them in the wax. Okay, enough of that. Like I say, that's opinion. I can't prove it either way. That's what I believe. That's a queen cup. Queen cup doesn't mean anything specifically. It just means they're making a cup. There's nothing in it to make it a queen cell. Now, you look in a queen cup and you find something in there, you got to evaluate what's happening. If you look in a queen cup and you find a whole bunch of eggs in there, typically I'm looking for a laying worker at that point, because laying workers will try to save the colony, and they'll try to make a queen, and they know that they make a queen cup and they fertilize eggs in it and make a queen. So if you find queen cups with lots and lots of eggs in them, odds are you've got laying workers. And I will do a thing on laying workers tomorrow, talk about how you can try to correct laying workers. If you find a queen cup that's got just an individual egg in it, different situation. Now that, personally, I've never found that myself. I've never found a queen cell with just an egg. Every time I've found a queen cell, it's been a larva in it. So another reason why I don't think she typically lays eggs in the cup, I could be wrong. I did some research trying to find actual video evidence of a queen laying in a queen cup. I couldn't find it. If somebody out there has got video evidence, I'd love to see it. So back on topic. So queen cells are the cup with a larva in it where the bees are actively making a queen. And it could be capped. So here's the question now. You're working your bees and you pop open your beehive and you go through and you find queen cups or queen cells. Whether they're open queen cells or capped queen cells really doesn't make a difference. You've got to make some evaluations on what's happening. Now there's 3 reasons bees make queen cells. Number 1 is they want to swarm. They want to procreate. And there's two reasons bees want to procreate. Number 1, they haven't got enough space in the colony. That's typically what we talk about, especially in the summertime. Number 2, they have this desire to procreate. Every animal on the planet wants to procreate. So in springtime, they're driven more by that desire to procreate, I think, than they are by space requirements. And so we look very carefully in the springtime when your first flows hit, looking for the evidence of the queen cells, telling us that they're fixing to swarm. So the second reason that bees will make a queen is supersedure. Something is wrong with the queen, or they perceive something's wrong with the queen. If the queen's got a broken leg or a broken wing or an antenna's missing, or she's not laying enough eggs, or they're just not happy with her, they'll get rid of her. They'll do supersedure. They'll make queen cells to replace the queen. Now, they also blame the queen for stuff that goes on in the colony. So you will find sometimes, if you do mite treatments on your colony, or if you manipulate your bees a lot in a short time period, the bees blame the queen for anything that goes wrong in the beehive, so they make a new queen. So supersedure cells could be because the queen is failing, or it could be because the bees are angry at some other circumstance. And unfortunately, there's no way we can tell this. We just know that there's a cell there. And then the last reason bees make queens is an emergency response because the queen is lost. So you open your box up and you find queen cells, and the textbooks and the old beekeepers will tell you that the location of the cells tell you what it's before. And that's somewhat true. There is some truth that you will find swarm cells on the edges and bottoms. However, it's not a hard and fast rule. Every animal on the planet is going to do things in the simplest way possible. We're all lazy, whether it's a honeybee or a human or anything, any animal. We're going to find the simplest method to do something. And so bees are going to try to make queen cells where they can make them as easy as possible with the least amount of resources. So if that happens to be on the edge of a frame where they found a larva, then they're on the edge of the frame. But just because it's on the bottom of the frame does not mean it's a swarm cell. And just because it's in the middle of the frame does not mean it's a supersedure cell. What it means is it's a queen cell. And it's up to you, the beekeeper, to figure out why it's there. So you've opened your box up and you found queen cells. So you look through the box. Is the box full of bees? Is the box half empty? Are they struggling? Do you find eggs and larvae? So these are the things you're looking for right now. Okay, I found a queen cell. Is my population up? Yes, I've got lots of bees in the box. I pull several frames out, I see eggs. Okay, that means that at least 3 days ago there was a queen in here, and that queen cell is obviously older than 3 days. So I put these things together. I have a queen cell, I have eggs, I have lots of bees. It's springtime, they're going to swarm, and I have to take action. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Next thing is you look in your box, you found the queen cells. The population isn't huge, but you got a decent population. And you look through the box, you find some brood. There's eggs and larvae. Maybe you find a shotgun pattern. You've got pockets of capped brood in different places, but not a lot in any one place. Well, odds are it's a supersedure going on. But you really don't know this for a fact. It's hard to determine that. Again, if I find eggs, I will treat both situations the same and then go from there. I'd rather treat a supersedure as if it were a swarm and be wrong than not. So I would treat both the same. And then we'll look at the third situation. You go in your box and you find queen cells, and you very carefully go through and you cannot find a single egg anywhere. Okay, you've got an emergency situation. They're making their own queen. And you have to be careful not to destroy that. Now, personal experience on this, When I find swarm cells and supersedure cells, I usually don't find more than a few, like 5 maybe, sometimes just 2 or 3, but it's never a whole lot. When I find emergency situations, if I'm in an emergency situation on a strong colony, I will typically find queen cells on every brood frame, anywhere from 5 to 22. I think 22 or 23 was the most I found. I had a really mean colony, took the queen out, went back a week later, there was like 22 queen cells. Every single frame that had larvae and age where they could make a queen had a queen cell. In that case, I cut them all up. So that's the key. The location of the queen cell is going to depend upon where the bees found a larva that's the right age to make a queen. So what are you going to do? You're going to make a decision now before it happens of what you're going to do. So this is the way I handle these things. If I go in my colony and I find a queen cell and I find evidence of a queen, I'm going to assume they're going to swarm and I'm going to split the colony. Now you can try cutting the queen cells off to keep them from swarming, but once they get the attitude to swarm, you're not going to stop them from swarming. So I'm going to go through the box and I'm going to look for my queen. And if I have to, I'll pull the frames out and I'll shake all the bees through a queen excluder, and don't shake the frames that have queen cells on them. Be careful with those. And I'll shake the bees down through a shaker box and a queen excluder to find the existing queen. And once I find her, I'm going to take her and 2 brood frames and 2 food frames. I'm going to stick them in a box. I'm going to move them to a new location, and I'll leave the rest of the colony behind. And hopefully they will think that they swarmed since the original queen is gone, and let them make the new queen. It gives that box a brood break also while you're waiting for the new queen to hatch out and go out and mate. And that's how I handle that situation. Now if it's a supersedure situation, I'm still moving the queen and a couple of frames of brood and food. And even if she's a bad queen, she'll still carry on with that box I moved. It'll be evident, and once I move her, that okay, they didn't want to just swarm, they wanted to replace her. But I've established a split anyway, and I've simulated a swarm, so I'm saving that. And in the case of an emergency cell, or emergency cells, as I said, typically when I find an emergency situation, there are multiple cells. What I do in that case is I cut a bunch of cells off, and this is another reason why I run all natural comb without foundation, because if I've got a box with, even if it's just 6 queen cells, and if I can cut 3 of them off and incubate them in an incubator or move them someplace else, I'll do that to hedge my bets. Now if you don't have an incubator, but you have more than 1 beehive, you can harvest capped queen cells and raise them either in the same box or in a different box. I did a video a while back. If you got a pill bottle, last time you had a sinus infection, you kept a pill bottle, you drill a couple holes in the bottom and side of that pill bottle, you cut the queen cell off your comb, you stick it in that bottle. You can stick it in the middle of a beehive, a strong colony, stick it in the same one that you found it in, wherever you want to put it. Put it someplace where it can hatch out. That hedges your bets. Now, if you've got several queen cells, and if by chance they all come out at the same time and they get into a fight and they kill each other off, you've lost all your queens. The colony's totally hopeless. But if you've caught one and kept it in a little pill bottle, you've got another chance. And at the same time, if you do get one emerging in a pill bottle, you can always set yourself up a 2-frame or a 3-frame nuke box, and put that newly emerged virgin queen in there with a frame of brood and a frame of food, and let her go out and mate. And it gives you a reserve queen. So that's my idea on queen cells, things you can do. Sooner or later you're going to find queen cells in your colony, it's guaranteed. So the first thing to do is look inside the cell. And if you got to turn the frame upside down and do it, you have a flashlight. I think every beekeeper should have a flashlight in their pocket or tool bag, a little pen light. Look in that cell. If there's nothing in it, it's just a cup, don't worry about it. If there's something in it, you have to take action. And you're stuck with time now, because if you don't take any action, 10, 12 days, bees are going to take action on you. And again, if you decide, well, I'm just going to cut all the queen cells off and try to stay ahead of the game, if you miss one, if you just miss one cell that's on the edge of a frame someplace, and you wait 10 days, you've lost, because they're going to take off on you, swarm. So that's queen cells. Tomorrow we'll talk about, let's say splits. I think I talk about splits. We'll talk about something else tomorrow. That's enough for today. Take care.